President Landgraf, thank you for joining us today. First off, could you tell us how Washington College responded to the COVID-19 crisis?
Well, thank you for the question, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. So the pandemic occurred, it's been going on for quite a while, but we realized that we had to make some changes. Our students were actually on spring break when it occurred. So we immediately informed them that we were not going to bring them back on campus. We started, our faculty started to teach the rest of the semester online. That's gone extremely well. We've never had online instruction at Washington College. So it was a learning experience for everyone, but it's worked quite well. The other thing that we did, of course, is we had to figure out a way to get our students back from overseas, and so we did that. And we also had to figure out what we were going to do relative to things like commencement, all of the spring activities that were planned for what would have been this week and next week, alumni affairs. So it required a huge change in what we were going to do. And I'm pleased to tell both of you that so far it's gone better than expected. I was very pleased with the responsiveness of the faculty. The other thing that happened was that our alumni, faculty, and staff basically came up with a fund called the COVID-19 Fund, or Sure Strong, which raised quite a bit of money, which is used exclusively to help students who, when they went home, didn't either have Wi-Fi capability or computer capability. And so, the semester is pretty well over. Finals are done. We're pretty well through this. I would say that on a scale of 1 to 10, I give us a 9, because it came about so unexpectedly. But we responded extremely well, and very, very proud of the people here, Dave.
What, if any, long-term effects in college operations do you foresee as a result of this pandemic? And sort of what has come to my mind is, are you looking at smaller class sizes in the future for social distancing? Might you continue the use of online distance learning, things like that?
So John, that's a great question, and I will tell you that what's interesting about this is that our future is going to be impacted deeply by the past month and a half. So we're going to have to continue to do some online instruction. We are still uncertain about how we're going to open in the fall. But it's reasonably certain that we're going to have a combination of in-person classes and online classes. We are working diligently with our other colleges here in Maryland to understand the health requirements that we're going to require when our students come back on campus. For example, we're going to have testing here. We're going to have to consider how many students we can put into our dormitories. We're going to have to look at our dining facilities. So John, without being exaggerative, while we still maintain the same value proposition, much has changed. So, for example, this summer, for the first time in the history of Washington College, we're actually going to be offering some online course modules. So that's a positive for us. We're going to have to make sure that our dormitories are in the kind of shape we need them to be from a health perspective. So our faculty and our staff and our students are going to we're all going to have to make some adjustments to this new world, which, as you both know, that's the reality virtually for everyone in the world right now. This has changed the way we do things today. It's also going to change the way we do things going forward in the future. I might just say to you that there's been a lot of press coverage about the fact that that in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and the Chronicle of Higher Education, indicating that of the top 1,000 liberal arts schools, so just for your information, we're number 105, so that's pretty good. We'd like to be higher, of course. But of the top 1,000 schools, there are many predictions that in the next year or two, 200 or 300 of them will be gone, either through liquidation or merger, and that within the next 3 to 5 years, as many as 500 of the top 1,000 might actually not exist, either through mergers or liquidation. So Washington College is quite frankly, is in good shape. We have a good endowment. We're moving forward. We think we're going to have a good incoming class, but this has changed. I believe that this is not an overstatement. I believe that this pandemic has changed higher education at every level. Community colleges, four-year colleges, state colleges, graduate programs. I think it's changed higher education forever. It will change it forever, and it's never going to go back to what it was prior to this last month and a half.
I'm glad you brought that up because May 1st is usually the time where the colleges hear about whether freshmen will be enrolling in the fall. I know that this has been changed by the crisis, but do you have any sense of how it's looking for you all?
We do, Dave. So we did change the date for depositing, which, as you know, that's how you know who's actually serious about coming, from May 1st to June 1st. And so on May 1st, we had about 285 deposited students, which is about where we were this time last year. And we have a very forceful, thoughtful campaign for the next month. One of the things that is attractive, we believe, about Washington College for many students, and we're getting a lot of responses which basically make us believe that we're right about this. Our location here in rural Chestertown has actually become very attractive to students and parents. So we're getting a lot of people saying, well, I was planning on going, say, to Baltimore, but I don't know that I want to do that. I had a virtual parents conference, and 2/3 of the questions were about what's the college going to do to keep my son or daughter safe? What precautions are you taking? How much of your instruction will be online? And so I believe that we have this very aggressive campaign to talk about our location. We're going back after students who basically had received acceptances, but we never heard back from them. And I would just say, without being exaggerative, because I want to be careful about this, the initial signs are that this is working for us. So, as you know, Dave, because you've been following this for quite a while, this college has had, some not great periods of time in the last 5-6 years. We were in the midst of a very fine recovery, and the pandemic hit. We were able to cover those expenses, which were significant, but it's changed us in a very positive way as we move forward. I think we're going to have if we open, if we're allowed to open, remember that's going to be, we have to do what the governor tells us to do. If we're allowed to open, we're going to have to be a lot more flexible. Some online classes, some in-person classes, and we're going to have to be able to have lots of contingency plans how we do that.
To the college's credit, you've been very transparent about some of those challenges that you spoke of, including a significant operational deficit. And as you say, it was before the crisis. Now that the crisis has hit, I don't think there's anybody in Chestertown or Kent County is not worried about Washington College, like they are most liberal arts colleges at this point. How do you respond to where we are and where we will be going?
So I have some great news. So we entered the year with a deficit that had been approved by the board because of enrollment and discount rate and some other things. We were on our way to not only not having a deficit, but perhaps even a small surplus. And that didn't happen by magic. We have very good people here, Dave. And then the pandemic hit, and we got hit with a significant expenditure. I'm going to say about $4 million. Room and board that we lost, incremental expenses for online testing. So here's something that I believe we're going to tell our board. I know we're going to tell our board tomorrow. Do some really good work. We are going to end this year at a break even, or maybe even a small surplus. So this year I believe, has turned out quite well. Every time we thought we were getting ahead of things, something came along. But it's going to work out for this year, and I have confidence that with the board and the faculty and the staff, if we open, and especially if we can open in a reasonable way as a residential facility, Washington College is going to be fine. And then Davis, I know you know this, but we have a pretty nice size endowment for a college of our size, and we're also the recipients of the Hodson Trust money. And that Hodson Trust money, I happen to know how much we're going to get, and I know that it will be coming to us in the next year or two. So what I would say to all my friends here in the Chestertown, Maryland area, we're going to have to make changes, but we are financially stable. We have the resources to do the things we need to do. I'm confident that our future will look great.
I wouldn't be running the Chestertown Spy without asking how much Hodson Trust was saying that they would help with.
I would love to tell you, Dave, because I do know, but one of the things is that they've given the 4 schools the absolute number, and then they've urged us not to announce it publicly. Here's something that I will tell you, is that of the 4 schools, the school that is going to get the most from the Hodson Trust is Johns Hopkins. The school that will get the second most from the Hodson Trust is Washington College.
That's great to know. Thank you for sharing that. Even with these wonderful stories, this can't not take an impact on your staff, on your students, on the faculty. You must be taking the temperature quite frequently.
I think that people are in the campus community are very saddened by the fact that our faculty and staff haven't been here. It changes who we are. It changes how it feels here. I think that our students are saddened by the fact that we're not going to be able to have a commencement ceremony in 2 weeks. We're going to have we hope, a in-person commencement ceremony in October. We're going to be doing our senior awards online. So we're all learning here how to conduct business via the kind of interactions we're having here on my meeting and Zoom and those things. Having said that, online instruction and not being able to connect with students is not the value proposition for Washington College. We're an in-person, heavy touch college. We always have been, Dave, and we're always going to be. So what I would say is the temperature here is we want to get through this. We want to be sure that we concentrate first and foremost on our students, providing them a great educational experience. We're saddened by some of the things that we can't do this spring, but our intention is to come back and get back to who we are, which is a high touch, high interaction with the students and the faculty and our staff. So that's where we are. I mean, I wouldn't say that people are, I guess what I would say is everyone that I talk to is so hopeful that we can get on. And also, I would also be dishonest if I didn't tell you, given what we see on the news every night, there's some concern here. I mean, so if we open the college and we have another wave of this pandemic, which is not improbable, we worry about that because we want to be fundamentally who we are. And that is an in-person, high-touch educational experience for students in a beautiful town, on a beautiful residential campus.
Are there any silver linings or lessons learned from this experience?
John, there are. And so, like all things, when you're going through a difficult time like this, you have to make adjustments. You have to change your mindset. So some of the things that have occurred here is that we have traditionally not had much interest in online education because of what I just told you about the value proposition of the college. So we're an in-person educational institution. We're moving now to a point where online education is part of our portfolio of offerings. So what I think is going to happen when we come back is that we're going to continue to do as much as we can in person, but I can almost assure you that some of our educational offering will be done online. For example, we're going to have an online class for the first time that I know of in statistics for our students this summer. That's a big change for us. It's not we're not the University of Phoenix. We're basically an in-person college here. So that's a silver lining. I think that another thing that has really been impressive to me is that all of the colleges, especially the liberal arts institutions in Maryland, have really pulled together during this. We meet every week. We've gotten some federal aid, we've gotten some state aid. We really have gotten great support from the governor. We've gotten great support from the federal government in terms of helping us through this issue financially. So the silver lining for us is we're going to come out of this in a stronger, more coalesced kind of way. And we also have, I think, a stronger relationship with other colleges here in the Delmarva Peninsula.
My fraternity brothers would criticize me if I didn't ask you about sports.
So, Dave, as you know, we're part of the Centennial Conference. And so the Centennial Conference has been meeting regularly. Here's what I believe the plan is. Well, I know the plan is this, is that the Centennial Conference is working with all of its member schools. And remember, that's people like Gettysburg and Swarthmore and Bryn Mawr, Dickinson, working with all of our schools to decide what we can do. We'll make a decision on what we can do on or about July 1st or July 15th. But the Centennial Conference is driven primarily by ensuring that our athletic programs are augmentative to our academic programs. So what they do is very much going to be dictated by what we're able to do from a health perspective. But currently, I believe the plan is going to be that we are going to start to allow students to come back in the middle of August, and that we will have a normalized sports schedule in the fall.
President Landgraf, thank you so much.
And I very much appreciate the opportunity to let you know where we are. And so it's a very difficult time for everybody, but I think, as you say, we're part of the community. Community is part of us. I'm very eager to be transparent about everything that's going on.